because he's already prepared for what I might do. He knows what I'm going to do before I do it, and he already made preparation for me before I get there. What follows darkness is light. That darkness is the indicator that light is getting ready to shine. So there it is in Genesis, when darkness was upon the face of the deep, and God in the spirit form moved upon the face of the waters, and then God said, let there be. Because darkness precedes the light. Are you understanding what I'm saying? But he needs the darkness there so that God can move upon the face of the deep, so that the shift can take place. Listen, look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor that shift take place in the darkness. Oh God, y'all didn't hear what I just said. Everybody's not going to see the shift that's happening. They see the chaos, but they don't see the shift. They see all the craziness going on in your life, but they don't understand that underneath the darkness, God is moving in secret. He's moving in quiet. He's moving in the hidden places. He's moving in the cracks and the corners and the crevices. He's moving in places that you cannot see. And when the light comes, they're going to see a new order. Even afraid to dream, afraid to imagine. But I'm here to tell you that you are an infinite, limitless, boundless being. Are you willing to do what is necessary to have what you desire?
Thank you for joining us. Please take a moment and like the Facebook page. Subscribe to the YouTube page and hit the notification bell so you'll be notified when we go live. If you are finding value in these enrichment sessions, please consider supporting this page financially. Your donations allow us to continue to provide spiritual enlightenment, self-exploration, and kingdom knowledge. Also, consider becoming a partner because partnerships have this privilege. As a partner, you'll be able to attend our annual Partners Only Summer Summit, join us for our 6 a.m. virtual daily guided meditation sessions, weekly advanced empowerment sessions, regular prophetic insights and instructions, 30% discount on all Emerge books and merchandise, and a custom Emerge t-shirt. You'll also gain full access to the private Emerge Movement community page as well as group chats. Once again, thank you for watching.
Good morning, and happy Mother's Day to all the wonderful, beautiful, radiant mothers that are out there watching us right now. This is your day to be appreciated, for you to shine, and for you to bask in the beauty and the bliss of the love that so many people show and owe to those of you who have been sincere, warm, generous, kind, loving, present mothers. Happy Mother's Day to all of you far and wide. And we send our greetings as well as prayers and love to all of those who are missing their mothers in this season, especially those whose mothers may have recently transitioned. And so you're dealing with this recent absence and loss and the grief. Do know that you are not alone, that you are surrounded by a community of brothers and sisters and family that love and support you, and that we're praying for you as you navigate this new normal in your life. Know that your mother is smiling down at you, and she is closer now than she's ever been before, because now her spirit is in you, through you, and around you, always there to comfort and guide you. My name is Isaac J. Miles, and I'm your host. This is the Emerge Empowerment Session, and I'm excited and glad that you decided to come and be a part of our conversation today. This conscious conversation is one that is so extensive, and I've been working on it since yesterday, and then early this morning, about 4 a.m., I was up working and writing, and it's just gotten me so engrossed. And I'm like, how do I condense this and distill it down to just one lesson, one conversation? And I don't think that there's really an adequate way for me to do so. So I'm going to just begin this conversation with you this morning, and then go as far as the time will allow us to go. Being very mindful of the fact that on this special day, many of you are going to be looking to either go and take your mother out to celebrate, or you may be going to spend some time with her this morning. And so I'm going to try and be mindful of your time. Try and keep our conversations to no more than an hour. I know most of the time we kind of bleed over, but I'm going to really be disciplined to keep it within the hour structure, so that you can have that liberty and freedom. And then what we don't get to today, then we will just pick it up next week in our conversation as a part 2 and move forward. So today I want to begin a conversation about healing the wounded soul. Healing the wounded soul. And again, this is such a broad and extensive conversation. And so I want to do a very comprehensive discussion around this particular issue. And so it entails a lot of details and a lot of structure and information that we won't be able to fit into just this one broadcast. But I do want to begin to address it. The concept of a wounded soul transcends physical injury. It encompasses deep emotional and spiritual distress that affects one's well-being and their inner peace. A wounded soul is characterized by emotional pain, inner turmoil and a sense of disconnection from one's self and others. And even in some cases, you feel a disconnection from God itself, from the divine, from the all of everything. When a person is experiencing emotional upheaval and trauma in their life, when their soul is wounded and scarred because of different events, it has a dramatic effect on the life and the perception as well as the behavior of the person who's been scarred. And the thing about it is that spiritual or soul wounding can happen over periods of time. And the effects of those wounds can be short term, but in many cases, as a matter of fact, in most cases, they are long term, lasting effects that people learn to incorporate into their life, and they just begin to accept it as this is just a part of who I am. They are so intense, or can be so intense, that they begin to reshape, restructure the person's entire life, their mode of operation, their perception and perspective, how they view the world, and how they show up in the world, not as their authentic self, but as their bruised, battered, and wounded self. Many times people experience traumas in their childhood or in adolescence, some even in utero prior to their actual physical birth. In their childhood, in their adolescence, in their even teen years, and then, yes, even others may experience trauma or heartbreak or pain or grief and loss as an adult that is rooted so deeply within them. It hits so hard and so intensely that it begins to completely reshape their personality and has a long-lasting, long-reaching effect in their life. Some people never fully recover from the grief. They don't know how to cope, or they come up with coping mechanisms to just continue to exist, but they never fully heal or recover. Ladies and gentlemen, can I say to those of you who are watching me right now, who may feel like, well, yeah, that applies to me. I'm dealing with so many different things that I've kind of suppressed, repressed, and pushed into the corner, crack, or crevice of my soul. I've kind of pushed it away and built a partition or a wall there. And I'm just trying to make sure that, I can still function as a human being, as an adult, while still grieving the hurt, the pain, the loss, or the trauma. I want you to know that you are not alone. But I also want you to know that there is hope, healing, and wholeness that is available for you. It does not have to be your way of life. It does not have to be a perpetual, lifelong experience where you keep reliving the hurt and the pain. But you can never be fully healed and never be fully whole again if you never actually confront, face, acknowledge the grief that still remains, the trauma, the pain that's there. If you're unwilling to face it head on, and then to actively, deliberately, intentionally do the things that are necessary to navigate your way through it so that you can come out on the other side, then that pain will remain with you And some people even spend their entire life having to deal with it, being reminded of it all the time until the day of their transition, and they draw their last breath, having never felt fully whole or healed because they never got over what happened in their life. It's those kinds of traumas and experiences that can happen in a person's life that begins to make you question everything. You start to change how you view people, how you view relationships, places, and things, how you view life, whether you start to harden yourself, build walls around your heart and soul as a defense to try and protect yourself, to keep anyone from becoming too close, or you begin to take a reckless abandonment approach to life where you just stop caring. You don't care about yourself. You don't care about other people. You don't care about your actions, your behaviors, your words, because you are just in so much pain. There are people who begin to lash out, and this is why you shouldn't be so quick to judge a person's behavior or response. You have no idea what may be the substratum of the behavior. You have no idea what is triggering that acting out that they're displaying. When a person's in pain, they tend to lash out and to act out and to be defensive and angry and bitter for seemingly no reason at all. Or on the other side of the spectrum, they can become overly sensitive or depressed, and they find themselves emotional and crying and broken for reasons that even they can't fully grasp or understand. And you'll ask them what's wrong, and they'll say, well, I really don't know. I don't know. I just don't feel happy or whole. I feel so lost or so empty. I feel so broken, and I can't really explain it. I can't put it into words. It's just something in me that's just not right. Many times they find themselves having a difficult time establishing healthy boundaries or healthy relationships with others that are around them. They have a hard time trying to navigate or even being able to sustain healthy relationships with their loved ones, even with their children, because they've never dealt with the fracture and the hurt and the pain inside. It can take the form of rejection and abandonment, of low self-esteem. It can take the form of feeling distressed and alone, depressed, like you are just trying to gasp for air, trying to keep your head above the proverbial water, trying to feel like you can stave off that feeling of drowning in a sea of emotions that circle around you and can seemingly come out of nowhere. And you find yourself wrestling with it and wondering, is it ever going to get better? I don't know how many of you on here I'm talking to, but I get the sense that many of you that are watching me right now can relate to what I'm saying, that you have felt it or you are feeling it right now, or you periodically find yourself in a place of grief and sadness with no apparent reason for it being there. You're wondering, well, why do I feel this way? You just wake up feeling what some would describe as the blues. And it's like, where did this come from? Why do I feel this foreboding, overwhelming, overshadowing darkness over me, heaviness on my heart. Why am I feeling this way? Some will try and suppress it to the place where you keep it pushed back into a closet, hidden behind a wall, in a crevice, in a crack, somewhere where you feel like it won't affect you. But here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. Sores that are covered never heal. Let me say that again. Sores, wounds that are covered, that remain covered, never fully heal. Covering may be necessary for a period of time in order to stave off infection and to protect the wound so that nothing else gets in it to agitate it and make it worse. But at some point, you have to remove the bandages. You have to remove the covering and allow the light and the sun and the air to hit the wound so that it can begin to heal and to scab and to eventually cover over with skin again so that it can be restored to a place of wholeness. I know. And when a particular wound has been covered for so long, removing the bandages can be extremely excruciating. It can be the kind of pain that almost feels like you're being traumatized again. When you remove those bandages from a wound that has been aching, bleeding, oozing with the pus of pain and grief and loss, it can feel like you're pulling away the scab all over again and re-traumatizing the same area that the wound was taking place. But ladies and gentlemen, if you don't expose the hurt, if you don't allow it to surface, if you don't bring it out of the shadows of obscurity, out of the closet, out of those hidden places within your heart, mind, and soul, if you don't allow it to be brought into the illuminating light of the all of everything, God the divine, it will never fully heal. Are you understanding what I'm saying? Am I getting through to you? I hope that I am. I'm already running out of time. I've got about 20 minutes left. And again, like I said, I know that we probably won't get through all of this today. So we're going to get as far as we can because I want to take some time to diagnose the issue of a wounded soul. And then I want to talk about the effects of a wounded soul. But then I want to end. You wouldn't be a good doctor if I gave you a diagnosis without a cure. I want to end with a step-by-step guide to help you navigate through the process of healing and restoration to wholeness so that you can begin to deal with those fractures that are in your life. I forgot to say this at the onset or the beginning of the conversation, but those of you who are on with me now, please do me a favor and your friends and family a favor and share this video right now. Share this live with your friends and invite them to come and be a part of the conversation, or to just sit in and listen so that maybe these words can strike a chord with them and ignite something within their conscious mind and begin to lead them down a path of healing and wholeness. Take about 30 seconds right now and tag some of them in the comments, your friends, families, loved ones, people that you know that are dealing with a wounded soul, whether it's from grief and loss or from heartbreak, or if it's from feelings of rejection or abandonment. Maybe they're feeling the rejection of a parent, or what
I heard Larry Reed use this particular term that I thought was just very apropos, so I'm going to use it here. There are so many of us that are dealing with what's something that he calls a father fracture, where a father is either absent physically or absent emotionally from the life of their child. And so they are dealing with that hurt, those feelings of rejection and abandonment, of loneliness and feeling lost and without any real direction to guide them along in their life. If you know of such people, or if you are one of those people, stay in the conversation, but invite others to come and be a part of this conversation as well. I know that it will be helpful and impactful and enlightening for each and every one of them. Go ahead and do that now. Do that for me right now. Like the video, the live, and share it with others. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the share button, copy the link and send it out to your group text and family and friends and all the others. If you're watching on replay, still share this video. Share it so that when we come back for part 2, you as well as others will still be able to come and be a part of it. Hit the like button and the alert button if you're on YouTube or Facebook, so that you'll get an alert when we get ready to come back on the air again and continue the conversation. If you are a part of the Facebook community, go to our page, emergelec, like the page, or like this page that you're watching on, so that I'll always be connected with you. If you are watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button so that you'll always be notified when we're coming on the air and when we're continuing the conversation. I appreciate each of you. Thank you so much. Causes of a wounded soul can stem from various experiences such as trauma, loss, betrayal, rejection, abuse, or even a prolonged emotional distress or a prolonged physical illness. These experiences can have a lasting scar on your psyche and impact one's sense of identity and ability to experience joy and fulfillment. Let me unpack that identity piece a little bit more. There can be traumas, griefs, loss, feelings of rejection, abandonment, and all of the other sources of a wounding a soul wounding, that are so intense and so in depth and they have lasted for so long that the person who is wounded begins to identify with the wound and the hurt and the pain. And almost unconsciously, they began to incorporate that into their personality, and it becomes a part of their identity. I want you to think about what I just said. Is there a pain? Is there a wound or a hurt that has been a part of your life for so long that has now manifested itself as personality traits and behaviors and actions, thoughts and perceptions and perspectives that have been with you for so long, you've now incorporated them into your life and made them a part of your identity. You've declared, that's just how I am. That's just how I think. That's just me and how I respond. Or I haven't been the same since this happened or that happened or the other has occurred. It robbed me of a part of my unique and authentic self. It robbed me of a part of my personality and character. The innate part of me that is loaded and coded within my DNA has now been covered over and plastered by the pain, the hurt, and the loss or the rejection, to the point where that I have now begun to identify it as a part of who I am. It's a part of my personality. It's a part of my persona. It informs how I think, how I speak and interact with others, and how I act. It affects my decision making, whether through fear and anxiety and anxiousness, or through anger and low expectations. I've become the personification of Murphy's Law, where I have begun to think that everything that can go wrong will go wrong. Or in the words of an old song from Hee Haw that says, if it were not for bad luck, I'd have no luck at all. Blue despair and agony on me. Where you go into life and approach life with the expectation that things are going to be hard, they're going to be difficult, they're going to be painful, and that you will only get so far and you'll only go so high and you'll only accomplish so much, because you have now internalized that trauma, that hurt, to a depth where it begins to inform your very perception and expectation. It becomes the substratum of what you anticipate in life. And ladies and gentlemen, when that happens, remember, because faith is a neutral energy and force, it has no choice but to be the substance that is the support for the thing that you hope or expect. Are you understanding? It supports your expectations, your anticipation, and to give you a visible representation or evidence of the thing that you cannot see. And so your expectation of more of the same becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy in your own life, with every event, every situation and circumstance seemingly being a reminder and further proof that what you have expected and believed that the world has to offer you is actually true. And so you begin to think, it is my lot. It's my lot in life to continue with this pain, with this hurt. It's who I am. I'm not good enough, smart enough, strong enough. I'm not worthy to be loved, to be understood, to be seen. No one really understands me. No one truly loves me. I'm not a person that is able to open and be vulnerable with anybody because I have trust issues. I can't trust other people because the people that mattered the most in my life from my early childhood were either absent or abusive or heaped some type of trauma upon me that has reshaped and reconfigured my outlook and my expectation. And now I just go into situations, circumstances, and relationships expecting them to fail, expecting to get hurt, expecting to be treated wrongly or abusively. And I find a way to internalize it to the point where I even begin to blame myself. How many of you have been, or maybe right now, in what is a toxic and abusive relationship, whether it is a romantic relationship, friendship, or a relationship with a particular organization that is absolutely abusive and toxic, and yet you have found the way to internalize it and begin to blame yourself for the toxicity of the situation, circumstance, or relationship. I was having a conversation yesterday with a dear friend of mine who was talking to me about a young lady who is a lesbian, and she continues to attend a church, an organization, a church that demeans, diminishes, humiliates her, talks about her being, nasty, filthy, demon possessed, a dyke, got an old homosexual, lesbian spirit, a demon inside of her. But because it is all that she knows, it is all she's ever been exposed to growing up. Imagine this now, that you are going to a place every week, maybe sometimes twice a week, 3 times a week, just to be denigrated, just to be humiliated, just to be relegated to the place of being wicked, demonic, and ungodly, and an abomination. And you feel that hurt, and somehow you internalize it and begin to say, I deserve it. Well, they must be right. Well, it must be true. Well, it must be who I am. And so you continue to go, and you are in an abusive relationship with a church or an organization or a group that is hell bent on abusing you further. But like a battered wife, you keep going back because you think, well, I must be the problem. I know they love me, even though their actions don't demonstrate love. Their words don't demonstrate love. But you have convinced yourself somehow that they love me. That's why they're treating me this way. That's why they beat me and abuse me and humiliate me. So I'll just keep going back for more. And internalizing it even more, lowering your self-esteem, lowering your self-worth, lowering your idea of your own value, and reshaping your behavior and your encounters and connections with other people, places, and things, all based upon the abuse that you are receiving from the toxicity of the relationship that you have with that church, organization, person, place, or thing. Can I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, you have to have the gumption, the will, and I know this is difficult because I'm talking to people who are so entrenched in it. It's hard to pull yourself up out of it. But at some point, you have to start to love yourself and see yourself through the eyes and lens of God, to do what is necessary to extract yourself from that abusive place, that abusive relationship, that battered wife syndrome, and get to the place where you are able to begin to pursue healing and wholeness for your soul. As much as preachers and other religious people might want to try and deny or diminish it, church hurt is real. More people have been wounded and fractured, have been abused and battered in church than in just about any other situation and circumstance. I will say that again, and I know it makes some of my Christian followers mad at me, but we got to deal with it as it is. More people have been wounded and hurt, humiliated and broken in church than in just about any other situation and circumstance. The very place where you're supposed to find love and acceptance and help and healing, you find humiliation, rejection, abandonment, abuse, and toxicity. You find judgment and fingers pointed at you. Much like many of you experienced growing up, where you were maybe a little bit different, a little bit odd. Maybe you were what is termed as a black sheep in the family. And so mother and father, or sisters and brothers, cousins, auntie, family members who can be so cruel began to point the finger at you and say something's wrong with you. And instead of providing you an environment of acceptance and love in which you can thrive and grow and become the highest and best version of yourself, you are surrounded with toxicity that is constantly reinforcing within your mind and in your soul that something's not right with you. Something's wrong with you. Why don't you just conform and be like everybody else? Why don't you act like, talk like, move like, think like your brother, your sister, your cousin, your aunts, your other relatives? Why don't you act like everyone else? And much like the dysfunctional family that creates that environment, it is mirrored again within the church. Why don't you just conform? Conform and be like the rest of us, then we'll reclassify you as saved, sanctified, and filled with the Holy Ghost, and that with a mighty burning fire, with the evidence of speaking in tongues. Act like everyone else. And this is the core and the genesis of what I have termed institutionalized hypocrisy, where the church and those environments began to teach people to put on a mask and pretend to be someone that they're not, to hide and disguise themselves, to try as a means of protecting their soul and spirit, as a means of putting on an armor so they won't be judged or humiliated or beaten over the head or broken down even further. They just conform and put on a mask and pretend to be just like everyone else. How many of you have found yourself in that position in your family, amongst your friends, and yes, even at your church, where you have to play a role? You can't be open and honest. You can't be transparent. You can't talk about who you really are. You certainly can't display who you are, your proclivities, your feelings, your desires, your isness, your true authentic self, but you have to play the game and pretend to be just like everyone else around you, conforming to the society, the system, the organization, the family structure that you have been brought up in, and having to bury your own unique, authentic self because you have recognized and equated that if I come out and be who I really am, I'll be ridiculed and humiliated or rejected and abandoned or abused and beaten and battered. So I'll just conform and wear the mask. And the problem is that you can wear the mask for so long, you begin to think that you are the mask. You can masquerade for so long and become so good at it that you begin to think the caricature that you have created is who you are. And so you've learned how to talk the talk and speak the language, walk the walk and mimic the actions. You've learned how to go along, to get along, how to get into the flow and go with it. You've learned to allow the abusive behavior to just kind of roll off your back or internalize it and blame yourself for it, and then spend the next few weeks, months, days trying to figure out, asking yourself this endless question: what's wrong with me? But I came with a healing salve from the bosom of the Almighty God to say to those of you who are dealing with these fractures, these hurts, these scars, these wounds, these cancers that have been imposed upon you and implanted within your soul, that there is nothing wrong with you. I want you to imagine, and this is probably going to make my Christian friend mad at me again, but I'm used to y'all being mad at me. It's okay. I don't care. Imagine that you are born into this three-dimensional experience that we call life. As an innocent child, you love everything. You are curious and active and moving around and exploring and having a good life, enjoying your childhood, your adolescence. You even, in this case, have functional parents who are present and love you. You're in a good environment. And then at the age where you're able to begin to comprehend and internalize, they take you to this building on a weekly basis and sit you there on a pew, only to hear the preacher and every other authority figure in the house tell you, who have lived your first portions of your life in bliss, that something is wrong with you, that you are born in sin, that you were born wrong, that you are broken, that you are filthy and nasty and unacceptable to God. This God that is the Almighty, that you're to give homage to and worship and praise. They now tell you, oh, but wait a minute, you, by virtue of your birth, are unacceptable to God. Lord have mercy. That you, by virtue of just breathing in air and surviving the journey from your mother's womb and entering into this three-dimensional space, there is something wrong with you. You haven't done anything. You're a child. You haven't behaved in any way. You're a child. You're completely innocent. Yet you hear continuously on a loop and repeated over and over and over again every Sunday, Wednesday, and every other special event and program, that you are dirty and filthy and unholy and unrighteous, and you are unacceptable to God. Now, it seems contradictory, because with the same breath, they'll say God loves you unconditionally, but then we'll flip right over and say, but you're a sinner and you are on your way to hell. You are on your way to this eternal torture chamber, being supervised by this villain called Satan, Lucifer, Abaddon, Apollyon, devil, and that it's all your fault. It's your fault just for being born. It's your fault just because you are here sucking up God's air. It is your fault, not because of anything that you did, but simply by existing. You are completely lost, damned, on your way to hell, with the shackles of damnation on your feet and the handcuffs of hell on your hands, and you are completely broken and lost. cross, and they say to you that the only remedy that is available to you is that you conform and be like the rest of us in this institution. That is the only hope of recovery for you. But then this creates a dichotomy and a contradiction within your conscious mind. You don't feel wrong initially. You're an innocent child. You don't feel broken. You don't feel like there's anything wrong with you, but you're being told that there is. So in your mind, faith cometh by hearing, because you've constantly heard that there is something wrong with you. You begin to adapt the persona and the belief and the ideology that, yeah, I guess I am a sinner. I guess I am broken. I guess I am despicable and unacceptable to God and unholy. I guess I am nasty and messy and filthy, and I guess I really do need to be conformed to this group and to the rules and regulations that govern them if I'm ever going to escape this trap of filth and unrighteousness that I was born into. Even though the first few years of my life, from infancy up until my time of comprehension in childhood, around about the age of 4 or 5 years old, for the first 4 to 5 years of my life, I thought I was wonderful. My whole world was blissful. I felt good about me. I felt good about my surroundings. I felt good about my life. I had hope and expectations and wonder and curiosity until I began to comprehend that there was something wrong with me, and it was reinforced by the man or woman standing in the pulpit and all of the people seated around me, who are all viewed as authority figures because they are adults and much bigger than I am. And I watched them respond when they're called sinners and ungodly and unholy, with tears in their eyes, or with a quickening and a shout and a holler, and they go down and they weep and they cry and they beg and they plead for Jesus to please save them from the traumatic, sinful ugliness that they were simply born into. Not that they did anything, not that they caused anything, not that they had done anything, but they were simply in their Garden of Eden, in a place of innocence, until someone told them, your garden is really a sewer, and you are the sewage in the sewer. And the only hope for you being anything more than the sewage in the sewer is for you to conform and be like the rest of us. Maybe you weren't brought up in church, but you were brought up in a family where you were told, just by virtue of your being born, there is something wrong with you. You're not like your brother, your sister, your cousin, your auntie, your friends, your family. You are somehow the black sheep. You're just trying to be who you are, the unique expression of the all of everything that you were designed to be in this human form. And yet you were exposed to things that you should never have been exposed to as a child, exposed to abuse and sexual abuse, exposed to rape or to molestation, exposed to hatred or alcoholism or drug addiction, exposed to promiscuity, exposed to an unhealthy, toxic environment. And instead of anyone trying to protect you, they blamed you and said it's your fault. There's something wrong with you. And that if you want to go along to get along, then you need to conform to the environment around you. And so you internalize this, because faith comes by hearing. It's what you kept hearing over and over and over again on repeat in your mind from your mama, your sister, your brother, your daddy, your cousins, your auntie. Then you decide, well, then you can't beat them. Let me join them. All mouths have this particular mindset, attitude, and behavior. You can't be a Miles and don't act this way and don't believe like this. Or is that you can't be my child? I know my child wouldn't think, act, or behave in this way, form, or fashion. And so you internalize that as a child, that the only way I can be my father or mother's child is that I conform to acting the way that they have determined that is the key to acceptance into their heart. And so it's like, okay, well, then I won't be who I feel the tendency to be, who I feel the desire to be, who I innately am, but I will mash those things down within me and conform to the image that mother and father have painted of what is acceptable for them and from their child. Are you hearing what I'm saying to you? Am I getting through to you? Greg, day I've gone over my time. I said I was going to confine myself to an hour, and I know that we're just getting into the thick of it. But it's Mother's Day, and I want you to have time to celebrate your mother and spend time with her. So I'm not going to continue. I'm going to stop right here. And we'll start with a part 2 next week about healing the wounded soul. I feel like I'm just getting warmed up and just getting started. Oh, goodness. But I want to be respectful of your time and of this day, this holiday, this event. So I want to invite you to come back and be a part of part 2 of this conversation next week at 9 a.m. sharp here on all platforms. I want to thank you for coming and participating and being a part of the conversation this morning. And I want to invite you or give you the opportunity to worship through giving. For those of you who have found this platform to be enlightening and to be impactful in your life, and you want to see this kind of conversation continue, then I need your support. I'm going to ask you to give whatever amount that you like to give, but to give and sow into this work, into this platform, so we can continue to expand and grow the platform here with the Emerge movement. If you'd like to give this morning, you can use any of the channels that are on your screen right now. You can use our Cashapp, Zelle, PayPal, or Venmo to sow whatever seed that you'd like to sow. For those of you who are partners with Emerge, you know what we're doing. You understand the financial fitness plan that we're all on to get to the place of being financially fit and being independently wealthy in a place where you're able to have a financial stability and money is no longer a worry, concern, or an issue for you. Follow that plan. It will work if you work it. Money needs a strategy and it needs movement. And we've given our partners a strategy to be able to move and organize and manage their money in a way that causes it to manifest more and produce in their life. I encourage those of you who are not partners with the Emerge movement to consider becoming a partner with us today, simply by writing an email to me to the email address that is on your screen right now. Simply include 3 words: I want in. I'll send you out an Emerge information packet. In it, it tells you more about the vision and the mission statement for Emerge, as well as gives you a partnership agreement. Once you've read all the information, you simply sign the partners agreement and send it back to me, and you're in. You're invited into the partnership portal, our private group, so that you're able to get more in-depth analysis and teaching and training and guidance, along with all of the other benefits and perks that come from being a partner. I invite you to consider partnership today. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate those of you who are giving right now, who are sowing right now, and those who will do so once we go off the air. Use your mobile phone, your mobile app, and sow your seed today. It is greatly appreciated, and I thank you for your generosity. I see the comments about maybe having an evening empowerment session. How about I'll do an evening empowerment session to continue this conversation in the partner portal for those who are available. I want to respect that it's Mother's Day. So you guys, we have a group chat in the partner portal. So if all of the partners agree to an evening session and a time for that evening session where you can all be present, then we'll do something further in the partner portal tonight. If not, that's okay. No judgment. Okay, I understand it's Mother's Day. And we'll just continue on next Sunday. And we're going to continue next Sunday anyway for those who are part of the general platform. Okay? Thank you again for tuning in. Happy Mother's Day to all of the mothers who are listening. Have an absolutely wonderful, wonderful day. Love on your mother. Let her know how much you appreciate her and how important she is to you. Do it now while she's still with you so that you're not filled with grief and guilt once she makes her transition. Have a great day, and I love you all.
Some of you are even afraid to dream, afraid to imagine. But I'm here to tell you that you are an infinite, limitless, boundless being. Are you willing to do what is necessary to have what you desire?
You've been listening to Apostle Isaac Miles, the disruptive innovator, a mentor, an author, a motivational speaker, an entrepreneur, and the founder and spiritual director at emergelec Life Enrichment Center. Please take a minute to subscribe, like, and share this page. If you'd like to become a partner, you can do so by emailing us at emerge.lifecenter@gmail.com. Again, that's emerge.lifecenter@gmail.com. Once again, thank you for watching.